right, let's rock it through another hour here. The Steve Gruber Show. Glad you're here. We just lit the fuse on another big hour. It's going to be explosive here. You don't want to miss any of it. Welcome to the Steve Gruber Show, coming to you from the Foxhole Freedom here in the heartland of America. Three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, red flag law has been used to take firearms away from Michigan residents ever since it was enacted, including a 6-year-old. Pretty remarkable. Number two, a cold case update from Traverse City leads to an arrest in a 1989 homicide. That's a really remarkable story we're going to get to. And number three, the big story all over the world still, Zelensky. Zelensky getting tossed out of the White House after his stunt. I can't call it anything else. It was a stunt that he pulled on Friday, getting into an argument and trying to tell Donald Trump how things were going to be, or trying to tell J.D. Vance. Didn't work out very well, played out in front of the national media, the international media on the world stage, and he ran to Europe and begged for help, which they gave him, and told him that they'll back him all the way. Well, good. Then get out your checkbook, England, France, Germany, and all the rest. Get out your checkbooks. You pay the way. And by the way, put your men and women on the ground. Put your sons and daughters on the front lines in Ukraine to fight a war that could be ended today. 1,000 Ukrainians have died since Zelensky's stunt on Friday. 1,000 more needlessly dead. More crippled, hospitalized. Some will make it, some won't. You see, this is the thing that these people don't understand. These people on the left, oh, Trump's a terrible guy. He's a bully. A bully for what? Peace? A bully for what? A ceasefire? Well, we have to have agreements first. No, you need a ceasefire. Stop the killing, like Trump said in the Oval Office. Stop the killing first. Right? America has a commitment to end the war in Ukraine. By number one here, Anthony, go ahead and roll that.
Really, there's two viable paths here. One is that this war continues on as it has for over 3 years. More and more Ukrainians will lose their lives. More and more of the country of Ukraine will be decimated and destroyed in this, what will continue to be essentially a war of attrition. And to what end? To what outcome? President Trump sees this reality. So the alternative to this, which he is so intent on, which he talked about continuously throughout his campaign, that the American people voted for, is his commitment to ending this war and bringing about peace. That requires bringing interested parties to the table to conduct these negotiations. Of course, both sides are going to have their arguments and their interests that they are fighting for. This is the reality of how these negotiations always occur during times of war. Neither side is going to be happy, very likely, with the outcome, but ultimately it needs to lead to peace. And that's what President Trump is so committed to, because he recognizes that the longer this goes on, not only are more Ukrainians losing their lives, but it increases the potential of this escalation towards World War III that he warned against as he sat there with Zelensky, saying that he's gambling with World War III, and that's not a cost that President Trump is willing to accept.
Yeah. All right, so Zelensky runs over to the EU, right? Keir Starmer, comes out, bold, put forward a framework for a peace plan between Ukraine and Russia. Is Starmer like the 6th or 7th prime minister in the UK in the last 10 or 12 years? It's unbelievable, and it just keeps going through. But Starmer, even though he put through this and they had all this tough talk and we're going to do this, it relies completely on the United States getting involved. Anybody who doesn't get that, you just got your head in your ass. Sorry, is that inappropriate? No. Starmer revealed a plan with French President Emmanuel Macron and other European leaders during a meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky Sunday in a concession to President Donald Trump's administration. Starmer emphasized that European countries would need to, quote, step up their own share of the burden towards security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. Macron told French media that European leaders were discussing a plan that would freeze strikes from the air, sea, and on energy infrastructure for 30 days in Ukraine. He said the window could be used to negotiate a wider peace deal. Meanwhile, Zelensky himself has been on damage control ever since his disastrous meeting in the White House. People on the left scream, oh, Trump was a bully and Trump was horrible. We're embarrassed. No, we're not. This is what I voted for. Every second of what I saw him correcting Volodymyr Zelensky, yanking him in like a petulant child is exactly what I voted for. It's not business as usual in Washington anymore. It's not billions of dollars getting trucked off to Ukraine to God only knows what it's being used for and who's getting rich from it. No, we're done with that. Those days are over. But the Ukrainian leader remains largely unapologetic. You know what? Get your hat in your hand, get your act together, or get out. We'll see if he puts a deal together or not. All right? How about this story? Out of Traverse City, Michigan, 36 years in the making. But justice has finally caught up with Stephen Kuhn. Thanks to modern-day forensics analysis, Grand Traverse County investigators linked him to the 1989 murder of 41-year-old Linda Mateer, a case that once seemed unsolvable. Mateer's body discovered April 27, 1989, Hoosier Valley, by a mushroom hunter, Stanley Saxton. The cause of Mateer's death was blunt force trauma, and while investigators interviewed Kuhn multiple times in 1989, he repeatedly denied knowing her or giving her a ride home from Spike's Peak Bar the night she vanished. His alibi, he left alone, got into his 1976 Cadillac, and went straight home. But that story didn't hold up in 2024. According to a felony complaint from the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office, detectives revisited the case last year, zeroing in on fibers collected from the crime scene in Kuhn's Cadillac. The Michigan State Police had originally collected the evidence, but it wasn't until Grand Traverse Sheriff's Detective Jason Polzin sent the fibers to Microtrace, a forensic lab in Illinois, that the real breakthrough occurred. Jason Beckert, a forensic scientist specializing in microscopic and instrumental analysis, compared fibers from Kuhn's Cadillac to those found at the crime scene. His conclusion, the purple fibers were indistinguishable from one another, meaning they either came from the exact same source or from sources so identical that the difference was negligible. In other words, those fibers put Mateer in Kuhn's car, a direct contradiction of his repeated denials. April 19, 1989 started out typical. According to investigative documents, Mateer and her fiancé, Charles Manville, were at Chumley's bar when he went home. She stayed out with a friend, Sally Horton. The two dropped off Horton's kids and went to Spike's Peak, where they drank until near closing time. Horton left before last call, but Mateer, heavily intoxicated, stayed behind. Bar worker Carol Taylor recalled seeing Mateer fall at one point and noted that a man who had worked on their roof, Kuhn, was also at the bar that night. That was the last confirmed sighting of Mateer alive. Despite 3 interviews in 1989 and another in 2024, Kuhn stuck to his story that he didn't know her, never gave her a ride, left the bar alone. Investigators believe Kuhn left Spike's Peak, with Mateer that night, and his fiber in the car indicates that. He was arrested and charged with her murder. Yep. Hoping for a short trial. 36 years not knowing. Well, looks like they have a pretty clear suspect now. Pretty remarkable. Hats off to the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Department, the Michigan State Police, and everybody involved with this investigation. Nice work, everybody. Nice work. I'll take a break and be right back.